of the votes cast to be adopted. We'll talk about that shortly. Welcome to the show. Sudanese women from Jazeera State have committed mass suicide in an act of desperation to avoid being raped by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Some media sources have reported that the act was committed on October 26th by over 130 women, a number that has not yet been officially confirmed. A report by the United Nations Women revealed that gender-based violence in Sudan has more than doubled since the war began, with the number of individuals at risk having risen from 3.1 million to 6.7 million by December last year. Here is our cover report. Crossing into Chad, 27-year-old Fatima, not her real name, thought she'd left the horrors of Sudan's war behind. The bodies she ran over while fleeing, the screams of girls being raped, the disappearance of her husband when the gunmen attacked. But now, as a refugee, she says she's faced more suffering, being forced to have sex to survive. She cradled her 7-week-old son, who she said was a child of an aid worker who promised her money in exchange for sex. The women spoke on condition of anonymity because they feared retribution from the men who they said exploited them.
We came to Chad and the food they gave us was not enough, so I slept with the man and I gave birth to his child. I had 4 children from marriage. This is the 5th child. I had to because they don't give us enough to eat.
Rights groups and activists say several women have taken their lives in Sudan's central Jazeera state after being raped by the paramilitary. The reports come after the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces was accused by the United Nations of atrocious crimes including mass killings in the state. With RSF fighters continuing to advance, one rights group says it is in contact with 6 women who are contemplating taking their own lives as they fear being sexually assaulted. But the RSF has dismissed a recent United Nations report blaming a rise in sexual violence on its combatants, telling news sources that the accusations were not based on evidence.
We are receiving reports of horrific violations of international human rights and humanitarian law, including sexual violence committed predominantly against women and girls. We strongly condemn the Rapid Support Forces' continued attacks against civilians. We also strongly condemn the Sudanese Armed Forces' indiscriminate airstrikes in populated areas. We are appalled by the attacks against civilians perpetrated by forces affiliated with the Sudanese Armed Forces in the Khartoum area. Let me stress that both warring parties bear responsibility for this violence.
Some Sudanese women and girls asserted that men, including humanitarian workers and local security forces, have sexually exploited them in Chad's displacement centers, offering money, easy access to assistance, and jobs. Such sexual exploitation in Chad is a crime. 3 women and girls spoke directly in Adre town near the Sudanese border. A Sudanese psychologist shared the accounts of another 7 women and girls who either refused to speak directly or were no longer in touch with her. Hundreds of thousands of people have streamed into Chad to escape Sudan's civil war, which has killed over 20,000 people. The large majority of those fleeing are women. Aid groups are struggling to support them in growing displacement sites. The United Nations Refugee Agency say displacement camps have safe spaces where women can gather, along with a free hotline and feedback boxes to report abuse anonymously. Yet, most women said they were not aware of the hotline and using the boxes would draw unwanted attention.
The fact that assistance is not enough for them can be a reason for them to go for survival stays.
An 80-page United Nations report said that since the conflict began, at least 400 survivors of conflict-related sexual violence have been documented up to July this year, with the actual figure suspected to be much higher. Victims it documented have ranged from between 8 and 75 years, with many of them needing medical treatment. But most hospitals and clinics have been destroyed in the fighting. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One. In South Africa, for weeks, hundreds or possibly thousands of illegal miners remain underground in Stilfontein town in the country's northwest province after police cut off their food and water supplies in a bid to force them to return to the surface and be arrested. This incident has reignited the debate on how big the illegal mining industry is in South Africa and its impact on the economy. Here's a report sent by our correspondent, Calder Nongmu.
In the past couple of weeks, South African police have arrested over 1,000 illegal miners via the operation Valamgodi, or Close the Pit. However, hundreds still remain underground in Stilfontein in Northwest Province, fearing arrests. Initially, the government said they will not help the miners in any way because they are criminals and they should return to the surface themselves. However, the remarks made by Minister in the presidency received criticism.
You want us to send help to criminals, honestly. We're not sending help to criminals. We're going to smoke them out. They will come out. We're not sending help to criminals. Criminals are not to be helped. Criminals are to be persecuted. We didn't send them there. And they didn't go down there for the good benefit or good intentions for the Republic. So we can't help them.
Following this, activists brought a case before Pretoria High Court last week. A judge ordered on Saturday that the miners be given supplies and that the police stop blocking exits. The court also said emergency operations should be allowed. Since then, food and water has been supplied to the miners, but only few of the Zamazamas have resurfaced in the last few days. Miners on Saturday sent up a note asking for antiretroviral medication, which is crucial for persons living with HIV. The note reads, "Please, can we get ARV pills? Please, people really need them here. Please." Illegal mining for gold, diamonds or other minerals is deeply widespread in South Africa and has gone on for decades. According to official statistics, the cost of illegal mining is estimated to be over $4 billion annually in gold alone and resulting in huge losses of revenue for both government and the mining sector. The current Stilfontein incident has widely divided the nation. While some say police must save lives, others say they are criminals and they should be treated like one.
That people must not have selective amnesia. We're dealing with criminals here. Not so long ago in Gauteng, they raped the young girls when they were shooting music video. People that are cruel. In Kagiso, they raped a father, a son, and a mother. A father committed suicide because he was affected psychologically. Now, people must not shift the attention of government on outrooting criminals in our society. Not so long ago here in Kanana, I remember it was my first week in office. I came to a tavern. They killed 15 people. I was there. I saw families crying to me as they miss. So people must not shift their attention. We are going to deal with the Zamazamas. We are not breaking down.
President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his weekly newsletter, said the situation at the northwest towns was precarious, uncertain, and potentially volatile. He said the Stilfontein mine is a crime scene where the offense of illegal mining is being committed. He added that law enforcement authorities have information that some of the miners may be heavily armed. Police have also said that their intention is crack down not only on those workers but to get to the kingpin who are actually benefiting from these illegal mining.
We are not only looking at the people that are now being used, that are workers. We are also looking at level 4 to level 5 of this criminal value chain to make sure that we are not going to have the repeat of the same, because we all know it is an open intelligence that if we arrest others, they will recruit others and send them to continue with this particular illegal mining. So the intention is to close the whole value chain.
The South African government is on a mission to sweep out illegal miners from the country. They are using various tactics and methods to do this. But some experts believe that a police-led crackdown is not working. So what really needs to be done? Will South Africa ever be free from Zama-Zamas? Only time will tell. This is Kaldan Olmo from Johannesburg, South Africa for WION World is One.
An overwhelming majority of Gabonese voted for a new constitution in a move that marks a new phase for the country following last year's coup. Provisional results showed 92% of voters backed the new constitution, and that's according to the country's electoral body. The outcome sets the stage for a transition to civilian rule, although critics say it is designed to allow coup leader Brice Oligui Nguema to remain in power. Nguema is yet to openly say whether he will run in the election. Here's a report on why this referendum was so important for Gabon.
Voter turnout was estimated at 54% according to the Committee for the Transition and Restoration of Institutions. There were no serious incidents reported during the vote. As he voted, the military leader hailed the referendum as a great step forward, adding that Gabonese were coming to vote in a transparent fashion. Prior to the vote, the transitional authorities described it as a crucial step towards the return to constitutional order in the oil-rich country. Referendum paves the way for the holding of elections tentatively scheduled for August next year, 2 years after Nguema took power to topple President Ali Bongo Ondimba, whose family had ruled the country for decades.
The Council of Ministers has expressed its satisfaction at the completion of the proposed new constitution. This decisive step allowed the transitional government, the CTRI, and the Transitional Parliament to examine in depth the amendments proposed by the Transitional Parliamentarians meeting in the Constituent Assembly.
The draft constitution establishes a 7-year term, renewable once, replacing a 5-year term that had no limits and which allowed for dynastic rule. It also bars members of the president's family from running the country's top job and also requires candidates to be exclusively Gabonese and have a Gabonese spouse. These effectively bar the deposed leader, who is married to a French woman. It is being seen as an attempt to end the family succession phenomenon engineered by the Bongo family, which maintained a 55-year dynasty. Critics argue it is ironical how Nguema is a close relative to ousted Ali Bongo, yet he fronted the constitutional changes to favor himself. Bongo had ruled for 14 years before he was toppled. He took office after the death of his father, who had been president for 41 years. The new law removes the Prime Minister's position and introduces 2 vice president roles.
Fortunately for me, I'm in the yes camp. Why the yes camp? Because I believe, as I said before, that these articles were proposed by us. And this is the first time in our constitution that the Gabonese themselves are being asked to choose what they want for their future.
I'm going to vote because I don't want my children to do military service. That's one. And I don't like the new reforms in the CTRI charter.
While some have hailed the draft law, others have warned it could concentrate too much power in the presidency. According to the UN, despite Gabon's oil wealth and vast forests, 1/3 of its 2.4 million people live below the poverty line. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
Since declaring independence from Somalia in 1991, the people of Somaliland have built a surprisingly stable democracy in a volatile region where autocracy is the norm. Yet no country has recognized the breakaway state's claim to sovereignty. Many are hopeful that whatever the outcome of the recently conducted election, efforts towards independence will bear fruits earlier than anticipated.
Geopolitical developments in the past year and Donald Trump's victories have raised the hopes of Somalilanders that this may soon change. But their nerves have been jangling ahead of a presidential poll on November 13th, since internal ructions could kibosh their national dream. The election pitted Muse Bihi Abdi, the current president, against Abdir Rahman Muhammad Abdullahi, better known as Iro, who leads the opposition Wadani party. Bihi campaigned on the promise that he would secure recognition of his state based on a memorandum of understanding Somalia and Ethiopia signed on January 1st. In return for recognition, Somaliland agreed to lease a strip of its coastline on which its landlocked neighbors could build a naval base. This incensed Somalia, which considers Somaliland part of its own territory, and raised tensions in the Horn of Africa. Some experts say Somaliland would be a more dependable ally than an unstable Somalia. It could also offer America, which has a military base in nearby Djibouti, another one on the Red Sea.
Now, it's very important to know that we have to showcase the world the peaceful coexistence in Somaliland. We have to showcase that the way that we are fighting is a democratic process in Somaliland. We have to showcase the world that Somaliland is a government and it deserves to be recognized.
I believe that in the past, not many people knew about Somaliland. But in the 7 years Muse has been in office, we have been recognized internationally. I'm confident that if he continues for another 5 years, we will achieve recognition and progress.
The territory has become the focus of an international dispute between Somalia and Ethiopia, raising fears of another conflict in the rest of the region. In January, Somaliland signed an agreement with landlocked Ethiopia, offering a lease on 20 kilometers of its Red Sea coastline. Bihi says Ethiopia will recognize Somaliland in return, though this has never been confirmed by Addis Ababa, and full details of the deal have not been made public. The Memorandum of Understanding has aroused fury in Somalia, sparking a verbal and military escalation with Ethiopia that has alarmed the international community.
Somalia belongs to Somalis. That is our stance. We will die for that cause and we'll defend every location where Somalis belong to.
Somaliland's internal cohesion has frayed under Bihi. His critics say he has eroded the tradition of relative political tolerance that is credited with helping to keep the peace among its fractious clans. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
Now this is exciting. A grandmother in rural Zambia has become a style icon and internet sensation after agreeing to play dress up and swapping outfits with her fashionista granddaughter. Margret Chola, who is in her mid-80s, is known to the world as legendary glamour and adored by 225,000 Instagram followers for her striking and usually playful fashion photographs. Madam Chola is our trailblazer this week. Natotela Chola, which means thank you in Bemba language to Madam Chola for gracing our show and allowing us to use your stunning art. Get in touch with us on all our social media platforms and tell us what you think about the show there. I'm Eric Njoka. Thank you all for watching this week. To all our Zambian viewers, Shalenipo, which means goodbye.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Special business talk show where we bring forth the stories of business leaders.
From breakthrough technologies to visionary leadership, we will unlock the trends, the tactics, and dive into the minds of the industry's most influential leaders.
WION brings you this special series to uncover what drives them in a candid talk show, WION Business Masters.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.